Hey guys, it's Tom Bucks. Welcome to MST.TV, and today we are doing the damage report for December 2020 for the post balance of December 15th, live until basically somewhere around March, and then we're gonna look at the winners, losers, and top tier potential. But before we get anything started, we're gonna review the ban list first, and I guess I have to give you guys my obligatory reaction to this. Oh no, LLP is still alive. Oh, Lane Cross is gone, Buster Lock's dead, and okay, so people can actually play Yu-Gi-Oh for once. Yay, moving on. So for the actual ban list here, for banned cards, we have Lane Cross, Dragon Buster, and Smoke Grenade of the Thief. All three cards, very much the most hated cards of the entire format. Lane Cross lets people extend through their combos even further than before for free, basically acting as a pseudo scapegoat, almost. Like, you always have access to it. The next one is Dragon Buster, which is the Buster Lock. That Buster Lock made Super Poly basically irrelevant to breaking some of the Dragon Link boards because you can't even poly out anything, making a Super Poly a dead card. Very awkward, so that actually exposes a lot more weaknesses. And because Link Cross is a combo extender, a lot of these cards, in fact all three cards, could be potentially hit towards Dragon Link. But the Smoke Grenade of the Thief probably more towards InfernoBLs, because InfernoBLs, they get to win because there aren't exactly many side deck options you can use against them unless you have a Token Collector. But if you have Token Collector, they have Call by the Grave, you're still kind of boned anyway because they'll just get rid of it. Not from your hand, but they'll put it in the graveyard and then they'll call it away, and then you just can't win anyway. Like, the only way you can stop an InfernoBL player from playing is don't let them build their board. If they build their board, they're gonna get the Smoke Grenade, they're gonna look at your hand, rip apart the card that is going to let you play, and the game is basically over. So you don't want to put yourself into that situation, and Konami is actually dealing with it quite swiftly here. Going to 2, we have True King's Return. Okay, I guess throw a bone to True Draco players. Is that a sign for the Masterpiece's return? That would be the actual True King's Return, right? Maybe not. I don't know, it could be a hint. We'll see back in March. I think they'll have to wait till there's a format where Masterpiece is easily dealable, like say Kaijus is rampant in the format where everyone's main decking Kaijus to break boards. You might see a Masterpiece here and there. That's the only reason why it would, to me, even be barely acceptable. It is such a strong card. It's one of my favorite cards of all time and has probably the best artwork. Next, we have going to 3. Lots of bone thrown away. There's a huge buff to putting BA back to its original power. Graph and Seer both back to 3. That is pretty insane. I can see a lot more push for the products of the Phantom Knight Burning Abyss because I think it will be even stronger than their original release, that's for sure. And they're going to be consistent to a whole new degree. But will they actually need these Burning Abyss cards? We'll see very soon. And we have Eve Gishki Mind Angus. This one's back to 3. Totally awesome. Back to 3. I think we might see more Paleo players come back because we have Triple Toad. Is it good enough though? We'll have to wait and see for that. And ABC Dragon Buster, of course, we didn't see any Dragon Buster play over the last format, and well, I guess now it's a good time to bring it back, I suppose. But that's basically it. The significant impact of this entire balance is just really targeted towards 2 decks. Every other deck survived, and pushing the current product seems like VFD survived. Well, let's go into the survivors actually. Of course, our survivor would be VFD, Christian Hockey Fibrax, and LP. Seems like Dragon decks are always going to be part of the format now. I don't think I'm gonna doubt it ever again that, hey, yeah, let's keep all the dragons in the format because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a dragon-based card game, or waifu, or whichever one you want to put it. As for Hockey Fibrax's ceiling is dependent on whatever else that you can summon with it, and it seems like taking away Link Cross gave it another chance at life. Basically, another card was thrown under the bus for the Hockey Fibrax, which is fair. Okay, but the VFD is the one that I think has the most amount of significance here, because VFD, it's played in Virtual World right now, mainly. But let's not forget that InfernoBL and Dragon Link both had the option to make this card, and it seems like if you took away some of their end board options, such as the Buster Lock, the ability to rip cards out of your hand, we're going to see people go back into the VFD play. It's just seems natural because I was basically the second best option, but then obviously people played the best option instead. But since the best option is gone, falling back to this isn't too far off. As for the losers, Buster Lock is significant. Smoke Grenade, basically for both decks, and Link Cross, we already talked about all this. So let's go into our very first damage report here. So for our first report, we're looking at Dragon Link. They actually took quite a significant hit, maybe a couple of small pieces here, but they are combo piece nonetheless, and if you take away combo pieces, it cuts the path short. So in terms of deck losses, Link Cross is a big one. Buster Dragon with Destruction Sword, that was a huge one as well. It also makes it very difficult to go into Herald of the Arclight without Link Cross. Think about it this way: unlike InfernoBLs can still go into Herald of the Arclight if they so choose, because they have level 3 tokens and level 1 tuners. This one, you need a level 1 non-tuner, and the only way for you to kind of achieve something like that is, well, using the tokens that were provided. And that also kind of ruins the Rose Dragon plays, because the Rose Dragons, the only way you can get the extra dragons out is because you can go into the Herald, but you don't have the token to go into the means of that, which means the red Rose Dragon won't benefit off of that either. It just really weakens the whole package altogether. And the Vylon Cube, without Smoke Grenade, would you still play the Vylon Cube? Technically you can, but you're only really fetching out, I guess, the Dragoonity Divine Lance, which you would have already fetched out, so the only real target would be the Living Fossil. So those are the deck losses. But what about the deck gains? What did you gain out of this ban list? You actually gained nothing, but how do you actually replace some of these cards? You can attempt to actually go into Dragoon. Dragoon has been such an easy access for this deck, and since you play Saryuja, you can shuffle cards back in, as long as you're using the Predaplant engine. However, this does expose a new type of weakness if you try to go in that direction: Super Poly. You have too many darks on the field. If you go Borreload Savage plus the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you're gonna get hit by a Super Poly so hard that you're just gonna lose everything. It's basically a game loss at that point. You can't recover from something that significantly damaging. And yeah, no Buster Lock means they have all those extra deck options available to kind of handle you as well. That makes a lot of smaller negations break your board much easier. Unbreakable board is starting to crumble away at this point. Other options you can go back to, which would be the Rocket package. Originally, at the beginning of 2020, the deck originated to play with a lot more rockets, and you can use they had Chain Abomination, do a lot more pop-based action, and you can still play with it. And even if you play with the Rocket engine, you're locked into dark monsters. Luckily, Predaplant Verde Anaconda is dark, and also Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is also dark, so you can still play that package in there as well, I believe. And then you can even jump back into playing the Rank 8 package, kind of closer to like 2018 era, where you go into Hope Harbinger. That is still available if you want to go in that direction. I'm not sure if you do want to, but you're going to be playing more of the Galactic Spiral Dragon and stuff like that. Just because it's a dragon deck, it's so generic, it's easy to kind of splash things around. You still have Chaos Space and all those really significant cards to keep the deck going, which is why I don't see the deck completely dying. But in terms of combo losses and gains, combo losses, you lost your combo resilience, your ability to eat a hand trap and kind of recover from it. That hurts a lot. Are you going to go back to playing Appaloosa once again, just so that you can actually push through? I can see you could try that. I think it's actually not a bad option. Playing Appaloosa back into the deck again, whereas most of the decks nowadays have cut it, but now you probably do have the extra deck space to play the Appaloosa and still do the Dragon Link combo and just push forward. And you might even go into Appaloosa, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I think there's a lot of viable options since the Dragoon comes out at the end anyway. But what you lose, Herald of the Arc-like access, that's pretty big, considering that altered the hand maneuvering for both players. And yeah, that's a negation that you're not going to have options to show. That means your opponent will have basically a much more patient time waiting for the right time from Nibiru, because they can wait for the Borreload Savage and drop it on you there, and that's going to hurt. Or they can wait for the Predaplant to come out and yeah, and do it right there. It's pretty big, and of course without Buster locking, Super Poly is pretty bad. But in terms of deck gains, I think you can evolve the deck again. And final remarks. You lost two big things. Your end board, if you think about the current end board that we had previously, which would be, the Hermetic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, Borreload's Savage, and then plus the Buster Lock paired with it, and you also had the Herald. That's about 3 interactions, with the fourth one being the disruption of the extra deck, and you're losing 2 parts of it. That's that's not going to hold the board in this day and age in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's for sure. It has to readapt. Now, as for our damage report number 2, we have InfernoBLs. Now, InfernoBL's biggest hit would be the Smoke Grenade, more so than the Link Cross, because the whole point of InfernoBLs was that they were able to recycle their cards very well and rearrange their combo at the end and just build the board once they have all the material. So without Link Cross, it just means that I might not actually have my Herald of the Arclight ready at the very beginning, which is okay. They technically still can make it at the end because they do have level 1 access to tuners, and they also have level 3 monsters that are non-tuners coming from the Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. And with that, they also have the level 1 tuner of the Despot 01. So overall, they didn't really die too much to the Link Cross, but more so towards that Smoke Grenade. That Smoke Grenade was almost like a guaranteed win button. Taking it away means that, oh, the deck can still play. It doesn't seem like it's that significant, but the option to take away your opponent's side deck is kind of gone. Cards like Dark Ruler No More, Forbidden Droplets, Gamma Seal, like Kaijus and stuff like that, they were not valid options to play against InfernoBLs because they would rip it out of your hand. That means you have to top deck into it, and if they didn't, even if they did top deck into it rather, and they saw like you have combo pieces, they'll take away your combo pieces so that you can't even play. And if you're unable to build a board, but you can break a board but not really follow up, that's just not good enough. And that's what InfernoBL was so good for. Taking away the Smoke Grenade, they still have the copy of the Neo Space Connector, which is cool. I still don't like the idea of it, but it won't be able to rip apart like cards like Dark Ruler No More, so that's going to be much more difficult for your opponent to play through. That means building a board with just monsters might not be good enough. But likely what's going to happen is that they're going to readapt. They already have level 9 monsters. They have quite easy access to level 9 monsters. They go into, say, Auroradon, summon a bunch of dudes, make their Charles using, you know, a 4 and a 5, and then with the tokens that they have available, they can still make another 9. They can make an Arcthese, draw a card, make a VFD, maybe even sit on a Boardload Savage along the way, and now they have Savage VFD. The out towards that would probably be on a draw phase, you use Super Poly, you know, using your turn player. If you see a board like that before they even get to use their True King of All Calamities, just activate the Super Poly so they can't even respond, get rid of both. The board is strong, but definitely this whole ban list makes Super Poly just a much more viable option because it seems to really be funneling people down to a very specific path that they're probably going to choose to go and play. So yeah, this is probably where InfernoBLs is going to suffer a little bit. I think they can probably get hit by a hand trap, and without the Link Cross, they also don't have like Tatsunoko. They don't really get an early Savage play either. Now, as for dinosaurs, well, okay, I guess nothing really to see here. Okay, looking into the top tier potential, top tier we have Zodiac, Zodiac Owlage, anything that splashes Zoo because they have access to Azu Sky Thunder and they can bait out most of your plays before going into that to wipe your board to play against you in a simplified game state. That's something that we're going to have to live and learn with because it's going to be very, very prominent, especially with Borbo dealing a bit of damage, and they can also beat you in time by, you know, attacking you directly with Borbo. It's one of the more annoying traits. It kind of reminds me of Hayate in Sky Striker. Then we have our dinosaurs, which barely took a hit. They did lose Link Cross. I mean, they did technically have Link Cross in their extra deck, and they did use it to build better boards, but it was not that significant. It's not like something that they 100% relied on to actually win. That's definitely not the case. So with that being said, I think they can still more or less play the same. They have Miscellaneous still at 3. They can still do their Archosaur combo unhindered, more or less, and they can still do, you know, Lost World, lock you out, play Go Second, and break your board and kill you in one shot. That's what they're really, really good for, breaking boards. Then for Virtual World, I think they're probably the best deck moving forward, simply because they have VFD access. VFD remained untouched. None of their cards got touched. In fact, because of relative power shift, they moved up because Dragon Link moved down. It's just how it's going to be, and they were already very, very strong to begin with. Now we're gonna have to learn to adapt with Zodiac, and we're gonna have to adapt to Virtual World as well. These are the two decks probably we're looking forward to beat most of the time. Then there's a hidden potential here, but I'm putting it top tier. But I think it's Burning Abyss. They're basically at full power. They have their Seer, they have their Graph at basically 3. Consistency is there, but they also have Phantom Knights they're able to play with, and with that, I think they have a really good chance. Like Phantom Knights, I didn't want to underestimate them because I played against them at Yu-Gi-Oh! Day, and I would say that if you negate the wrong card and you leave a bunch of monsters on the field, they just need to make a break sword to completely kill you by going into the Xyz Dragon, the Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, to pump him to over like 8,000 damage, and then you're just gonna die in one shot. Feels like playing Grand Maju, except that you've burned all your negations through him trying to break your board. It's an interesting deck, and I can see that they can definitely abuse, Cherubini and to get into these plays. They can easily even go into a Dragoon as well as a part of their play. I see this deck being one of the scariest options out there, especially when, they're not really going into Dante, they're really just going into Cherubini and building a board, and it gets quite scary once they go into the Bardiche. And next we have Drytrons. Drytrons technically took a little bit of a hit because it's more difficult for them to go into the VFD without the access of Link Cross. They can't really go into Cyber's Interrogator, can't go into the copy of the Metal Marcher. It's hard. Well, technically they can, but they need so many extenders to actually get there. I don't see it as like too practical unless there's a list that I'm not aware of. Well, let me know down in the comment section if you can still build VFD very consistently without the access of Link Cross. Then we have Invoked Dogmatica. Yes, I guess I put Construct there as the image, but it's Invoked Dogmatica because Shizum is still a very scary play, and locking people out of more than one special summon is going to be crippling. Anything with a bit of a lock is going to be very scary. Drytron, oh, I guess I can add on to Drytron. They can just summon Vanity's Ruler and Herald next to each other, or they can go Amifractor plus Vanity Ruler. That really just ruins most plays, I would say. It doesn't even matter what you do now because it's kind of like you VFD'd them in some sense, because you skip their entire battle phase more or less if you're doing it on the opening turn, because they're not going to attack you, that's for sure. But that also makes cards like Evenly Matched more viable. Moving down this year, we got Hidden Potential, we got Dragon Link. Dragon Link might go back to Rockets and might go play rank 8 Dragon Link. We'll see how that one evolves, but definitely they're still around because LP's still around, Botar's still here, and Chaos Dragon Levianeer is still here, so they can easily go into Spiral Dragon and just do different kinds of plays. They can even do Dragoon play. I think Dragoon is probably the route that I personally might choose to take. InfernoBLs, I guess without the hand trap lockout, or rather the side deck lockout, you can break their board easier now without worrying about the card getting completely ripped apart. But that doesn't really stop them from Space Connector going to Aqua Dolphin to break you completely. Yes, man, I gotta take a breath here. Prank Kids, Meow Meow Moo, making them a very consistent deck, and they can build very nasty boards and kill you quite easily. I don't think any game really lasts more than like 5 turns against them. 5 turns being the max. Other than that, you're probably gonna get pretty much murdered by that deck if you don't know what you're doing against them, or if they have the nuts. Next we have, I guess Golden Lord. I guess Golden Lord decks and Dogmatica decks, anything in the Splash that engine is going to be very, very powerful. It's just natural. Like the Golden Lord engine is by some definition infinite, because you can just constantly cycle itself for about 5 turns and you can really just keep surviving off of just single Eldritch cards or Golden Knight cards. As for Dogmatica, Dogmatica is really good against like extra deck stuff, but it does have that heavy restriction if you play Punishment and you can't use your extra deck anymore. So that restriction is going to be a limiting factor towards Dogmatica, which is why Dogmatica Invoked is better, because you start with a better extra deck option as you start. And then there's Unchained. Unchained is very good against Eldritch, and it's also very good against I guess not just Dogmatica. Basically, it's good against a lot of decks that is destruction based, and if you're destruction based, this is the deck that is going to basically rip you apart, because all of your interaction net pluses for your opponent and basically zeroes out for free, and therefore you're gonna fall behind in sheer card advantage. It's almost like a combo control deck, but it is really there to be a board breaker, and I've experienced this firsthand against Distant Coder, where it's hard to play a deck where every single interaction you have is popping based, and where they don't use popping based interaction, they just use your monster as material, and that's kind of the best way to use the material, because you don't have to invest as hard. You use your opponent's investment against them. And now we can go down into Hidden Potential. I have Evil Twins in here. That's right, I've built the deck. I have a deck profile coming for you guys. I did record it before the ban list actually dropped, so there might be some terms that are kind of unnecessary in there, but whatever, you guys will get past it. But this deck, I built it paired with the engine of Dogmatica and Eldritch because it actually works better that way. The ceiling is higher if you do it. If you just do pure Dogmatica, you get a very consistent deck without a lot of impact. So I decided to get a little bit more oomph out of the deck by putting in the Eldritch package in there, and you can also change up the way that you want to play this deck by playing it with the Unchained. Basically, it's the Twins deck because you have Unchained Twins and you have Unchained, or rather, you have Evil Twins and Unchained Twins both packaged together. I don't know, it seems like a match made in heaven, but it's a very different play style if you play it like that. Again, high potential there because it's just a control deck that just nets constant pluses. If you don't know how to grind against it, they will outgrind you and they will outpace you. Next, we have Necros because of Drytrons. That's the real reason why I have something to talk about them, because you can actually use Drytrons to actually fetch out a lot of these Necros cards. I'm almost arguing that you could potentially use, if Gishki cards do that, hand loop with Drytron. I haven't really dug into it. I hope someone does dig into it, and then hopefully someone finds a way to counter it, because I don't think hand loops really deserve to be in the game because it's not very fun. But that being said, hey, it's if it's in the game, it's in the game. And then there's heroes, because heroes are just really annoying, and they have an exposed weakness of their Ferris. Their Ferris or their increase. If you manage to stop increase, basically the whole combo goes south, and they have to have real cards to extend rather than get the whole play for free. And that's my tier list potential. If you guys have any other decks that think belongs in this tier list, well, let me know down in the comment section below. Did I break it down enough? Just be aware of VFD. It's going to be flying in a lot of these decks. Decks that didn't play it before will likely going to re-access that option, and it's going to get quite annoying, not going to lie. Get your imperms ready, get your gammas ready, because that does seem like that's the direction we're going to be going in. Alright guys, that's all I got for this damage report. If you guys enjoyed this damage report and want to look forward to upcoming deck profiles, smash a thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell, and I will see you guys very soon.